Why is Quixotic pronounced as it is? Since Quixotic was coined with Don Quixote as its basis, why is it pronounced Quixotic when it should by right/origin be pronounced Quixotic? It even sounds more onomatopoetic the latter way, as it resembles in its sonorous qualities chaotic, which suits the subject. Or is trying to make sense of English pronunciation a quixotic quest?
It appears to be dialect issue. It's not a word that comes up much in daily conversation, but the few people I know who use it pronounce it closer to your second, your supposedly correct way. More like Quixotic, emphasis on the first syllable, short O in the middle. However, there are comments below to the effect that your first pronunciation is reported as the correct one in the OED, and is understood as such in the UK. The people I have heard use it are American Midlands dialect speakers, both northern and southern varieties. I suppose it's possible that your dialect area, from your user info, I'm guessing California English, tends to use the more normal anglicized version. Probably the reason for that first reported usage is that it is the pronunciation an English speaker would naively expect for that assemblage of letters, in the absence of any other information. The most common word starting with ki is quick, which is pronounced with the same qui, and an x in English usually produces a ks sound. So if you didn't know the word derived from the name of a character in a Spanish novel, you'd expect it to be pronounced your first way, not in a Spanish-influenced way.
/kwkst/ is clearly an anglicization of the Spanish spelling. It's equally clear that such spelling pronunciations have always been very common. This one, in particular, can be seen in action at the very end of Canto 13, stanza 10 of Byron's Don Juan. A title, incidentally, pronounced /dandun/ by the author, as the poem makes clear. Redressing injury, revenging wrong, to aid the damsel and destroy the caitiff, opposing singly the united strong, from foreign yoke to free the helpless native, alas. Must noblest views, like an old song, be for mere fancy's sport a theme creative, a jest, a riddle, fame through thick and thin sought? And Socrates himself, but wisdom's Quixote? Note the rhyme, wrong strong song alternating with caitiff native creative, and ending in a couplet, with its rhyme bold-faced above. In this couplet, Quixote has to be pronounced in 2 syllables, not 3, and the last 2 syllables rhyme with thin sought. I.e/Quixotic/, and from there to /kwkst/ is no distance at all in modern English.
I've often wondered about the pronunciation of this word. Where I live in New England, we pronounce any Spanish word that has an X, such as Mexico, in the anglicized version, unless we are speaking in Spanish. For that matter, when we refer to Cologne, Germany, we don't say Köln, Deutschland, either, unless we are speaking in German. So why would we consider saying Quixotic? My hunch is this: we all know the Spanish pronunciation of Don Quixote as Don Quixote, from having heard the name pronounced in storytelling, or in the musical, Man of La Mancha. So perhaps some of us think we ought to be consistent, and also use the Spanish pronunciation for the adjective. But that makes a strange amalgam, because Spanish adjectives don't end in ic, the actual Spanish adjective is quijotesco. So if we are going to use the English adjective form, then I think we should be consistent and use the English pronunciation.
Other answers have covered the bases on Quixotic quite well, I think. I just want to note here that Quixotic isn't the only Spanish-derived word containing the letter string K that, at least some, British English speakers pronounce in a very un-Spanish way. In the United States, children are taught in elementary school about the Spanish conquistadors, who explored, and of course conquered, large areas of the New World during the very late 1400s and the 1500s, and the only pronunciation I have ever heard used here in the United States for the word conquistador is conquistador, with the accent on the keys syllable. But as this video of Procol Harum performing its song Conquistador in 1977 demonstrates, Gary Brooker, the band's English lead singer, pronounces the word conquistador with the accent in the quis syllable. This, it seems to me, is entirely consistent with pronouncing Quixotic as Quixotic with the accent on the sought syllable. Indeed, if we accept the 3 letters K in Spanish as consistently receiving the pronunciation qui, with a short I sound, in certain forms of British English, it seems to me that pronouncing the following X in Quixotic as KS rather than as H follows as a matter of course, given the strangeness, to the mouth of an English speaker, of pronouncing the H sound immediately after a short I sound. In English we have several words that involve pronouncing an H immediately after a long E sound, beehive, knee-high, freehold, and hee-haw, for example, but none I can think of that involve a short I immediately followed by an H sound. For that reason, I would expect an English speaker attempting to pronounce frijoles either to try to match the Spanish pronunciation with something like frijoles, with the accent on the ho syllable, or to keep the I short and pronounce the word something like frijoles, with the accent on the jo syllable, or frijoles, with the accent on jols.
If you want to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing.